What is up, everybody? It's been a long time. It's been a bit of a wait, but we are finally back for episode 7 of the In Between Time podcast. We sort of let the news of camp closing sink in a bit. Took a little hiatus, but I think now more than ever, the three of us are ready for some good old-fashioned banter with the boys. And as always, because we know no other way, we're going to start this episode with the best thing that happened this week. Raul, what was the best thing that happened to you this week?
Best thing that happened to me this week is finding out that baseball will be back July 1st. I was starting to really get worried about this Mookie Betts deal that the Dodgers were able to pull off. It's only a 1-year deal. He's a free agent next year. So I was really concerned about whether or not we were going to be able to watch him play in Dodger blue. And, I hope he's going to be the piece that we need to get us that elusive ring. So I'm excited and looking forward to watching some live sports.
It's funny, my mother has been hounding me about buying an elusive ring for my girlfriend for a long time now, so I guess I can relate to you a little bit, Raul. Do you think? Just kidding. I love you, Mom. But seriously, she's crazy. Do you think, Raul, that this is the year the Dodgers finally get over this World Series hurdle, or will they find a way to choke when the lights are the brightest and the moment is the biggest?
I don't think it's fair for you to say that we've choked, given that our last 2 World Series losses have come at the hands of cheaters, proven, by the way. But I think this is the year. There's definitely not going to be any fans in the stands, which is going to end up helping us because the lack of noise is really going to make it impossible to bang trash cans. We just got to look out for any sensors that are attached to anyone's body. But I think this is the year. I think no noise equals a World Series ring for us. So, yeah, I think this is it.
All right. Well, best of luck to you. As always, the Mets have found a way to disappoint me without even playing a game. Syndergaard has, followed his rite of passage as a Mets prospect, starting pitcher, and tore his whatever, requiring him to get Tommy John surgery. So, season over before it started, just like the little Stewie clip from Family Guy. Xander, what was the best thing that happened to you this week?
Well, first, I'm really excited to listen to Raul's new podcast, No Fans in the Stands. That sounds really exciting. For me, a lot of big news, but I think the biggest is, guess what? I'm broadcasting right next to my buddy, Zach Cohen. I'm back at camp, baby. I know there are no kids here. I know the summer's not really happening. Whatever. I'm here anyway. Raul, we miss you. Everyone else, we miss you. But we're having the time of our life, hanging out, recording this podcast under Bunk P, making the magic happen.
Yeah, this not to make this sort of sad, but this would be the last night. Tomorrow we'd go back and stay in the hotel in Westchester before we went and picked the kids up. So, in a normal summer, I think this is right where we'd be sitting. Me and Raul and Xander and maybe some other people talking about what's to come this summer in the room under Bunk P. So somehow this feels right, even though not everything is as it should be. But I'm happy you're here, Xander. Zach Waymeyer's here, Alexa's here, Marin is here. We've got a lot of Brant Lakers up visiting, socially distanced appropriately for everyone who was worried. But yeah, a lot of good things happened this week to me too. But I got to say, today, June 25th, Thursday, will be remembered by soccer fans for a long, long time as the day that Liverpool cemented their place as the greatest team, probably in the history of team sports. They are currently European champions, world champions, and as of today, they are champions of England, won their first Premier League title. Tom Finnegan, congratulations, buddy. Rodri, all the Liverpool fans out there, I am extraordinarily excited that the boys finally clinched their title and made it even sweeter that an American, Christian Pulisic, scored the goal for Chelsea that won Liverpool the Premier League. So that was it for me. I think it's time to move on, so let's do it. Our fan response of the week, this week, sponsored by who, Raul?
This week's fan response of the week is brought to you by The Great Escape. From our 3 fun rides to our overpriced funnel cakes, Great Escape has been a staple of Brant Lake trip days for decades. Long lines at the bathroom cutting into your time? Not to worry. Just pee in the lazy river and run over to spend $1,000 on your parents' credit cards so you can win a giant stuffed animal that probably won't make it to visiting day. Great Escape, ruining Six Flags brand since 1954.
And, of course, like to take this moment to remind our listeners that this copyrighted podcast is presented by the authority of Brant Lake Camp and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this podcast may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the aforementioned Brant Lake Camp. All right, folks, got a lot of great emails, so many, in fact, that I couldn't limit it to just one fan response of the week. That's right. For the first time ever, we will have 2 fan response of the week. Rick, can I please get some fan response music? Please play me something pretty, Ricky. Nope, still not in the budget. All right. First email comes from Judy. Subject line, professional. Hi. I am a professional WordPress website designer. I found your email inbetweentimeBLC@gmail.com, and I would like to discuss with you. Do you want to WordPress design or redesign your website at very low cost? Please let me know if you are interested. I can send you company, profile, and portfolios. Waiting for your reply. Kind regards, Judy. Thank you very much, Judy. We really appreciate the feedback. But really, the most important email of the week comes from our good friend, Willie Brody. Willie, we miss you, brother. Willie says, hello. I just want to say that I did not expect myself to become as engaged in the podcast as I have. I thought it would be too geared towards kids coming into senior camp currently. With that said, in these trying times, the podcast has really been a nice way for me to remember my own memories of camp. I think that the cast is timeless. Any alum of any age could resonate with the subjects that you guys discuss. I would also like to note that despite my status as one of the preeminent athletes of my age group, in between time on the T-Wise Pavilion was always where I excelled most. Willie Brody. P.S. Zach, I am quite upset that I was not selected in the draft for the 6-man/assistant coach position, given my time served as your loyal consigliere.
Man, I got questions about Judy. Maybe we should start a website. Maybe that's the next step in this rising media empire that we have growing at In Between Time. But no, Willie, thank you for the email, man. We miss you. Glad you're tuning in. Glad alums and current campers and counselors, Brant Lakers of all ages and all eras are tuning into the podcast. And I think now we got to start the topic. So here we go. This week, we are actually going to do something a little bit different. We thought we'd have a nice, lighthearted podcast, our first one back. So we're going to try something new. We're going to do our own version of a debate show, like a First Take or an Around the Horn or Undisputed or one of those shows. So what we're going to do is we've got a few topics this week, and we're going to debate them. No guest, just the 3 of us for our return to the airwaves, and we'll see where we end up. And as always, particularly on these controversial topics, we want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you think. We want to know where we went wrong. We want to know why Raul is wrong in particular. So again, reach out to us if you can, inbetweentimeBLC@gmail.com. So let's start off with topic number 1. We're in the dining room, getting towards the end of the meal. Counselor calls alley-oop and calls you out for moving. 2 choices for jobs. It's a friendly counselor, so he's going to give you an option. You can do sponge or you can do bins. First of all, let me make a point of order here. Anybody that volunteers preemptively to do the pitchers, you're not doing anything special. That's not some sort of magnanimous gesture you're doing there. That's a way to get out of doing the bad jobs, all right? So for everyone who thinks they're on to some crazy scheme, like I'm not doing a job, I'm going to volunteer to do pitchers, get out of here. We're not having that. You're not winning citizenship. Cut that out. Anyway, that's my own rant. Sponge versus bins has been a hotly contested topic. There are people that won't touch the sponge. There are people that don't want to carry the bins. So we're going to hammer it out right here and right now. Raul, I'll give you the floor, and you're going to cede it to Xander. Xander, what is your opinion on sponge versus bin?
First of all, un-alley-oop, Raul. You can move now. It's all good. This is an easy one. This is a no-brainer. And I'll tell you why. It's because I'm an adult, and carrying bins is not a struggle for me at all. That being said, the disgusting water that the sponge sits in, I don't want to put my hand in there. That's nasty. What, am I going to use the burning hot hand sanitizer after and think it's going to clean me? No shot. I do not want to touch that nasty sponge. I have no problem carrying the bins. It's easy money. I take bins all day. Raul, what you got?
Can I just jump in and mention for everybody that we are not an anti-hand sanitizer podcast. We are pro-hand sanitizer. Everybody wash your hands. Stop the spread.
I don't know when this podcast turned into the lamestream liberal media, but I guess that's where we're going.
You know what? I'm gonna go with sponge. You know, it's the finishing up. It's the last touch. You know, the bins. What, you're working in senior camp. You're getting 30 plates in that easy. You know, you think you're getting the bin only for your table. No, you are not. You're getting that bin, and 40 kids are going to stockpile their plates into that. You don't think a piece of food is going to touch your hand, your precious little hand, Xander? You know, you'd rather get touched by food that has been kids' mouths instead of water that is clean? And just to add to that point, Xander, you have a baseball glove. How old is your baseball glove?
Probably 7 years.
7 years old. How many times have you sanitized or cleaned that glove?
Every day.
You're a filthy liar. And you stick your hand in that.
Need for that. Moderator.
Hold on. A few points of clarification. First one, sort of guilty conscience here. I am one of the kids that will go and put my plate into somebody else's bin. Guilty. Point of clarification, though. Bins means different things at different tables. If you're at a table where everybody dumps their own plates and then puts them in the bin, so all you have to do is go get the bin and go bring it back, I think I'm going bins. But if you're stuck at a table, and there are plenty of these tables, where everyone assumes that bins entails you are taking my plate, you are taking my bowl, you're throwing everything out, you're putting everything in the bin, and then you're bringing it back. That's a whole different kettle of fish there. So, Xander, in your experience at camp, what happens more often? Do you think there are people that are actually generous enough to dump their own trays and then put them in the bin?
Let me tell you, we live in a society, and in a society we have rules. And these rules include you dump your own gosh darn plate, all right? I don't want to listen. I'm not going to sit at a table where kids are content to let someone else dump their plate for them. You have to dump your plate, and then I'll take the bin. I mean, if I've earned the job or if I'm stuck with the job, I'm happy to do it. But gosh, I do not want to stick my hand in that nasty water. I mean, maybe that's just me. But I'm big enough, I'm strong enough that I can hold the bins. Honestly, I don't get to the gym nearly enough. This could be my workout for the whole week. So there we go.
Raul, in your experience, are you responsible as the person with bins for dumping everybody's plate and putting it in the bin, or are you just the mule that carries it back and forth?
One, I'm gonna say this. I don't do that for anyone. You know, I'm not gonna do that for anyone. If anything, I'm gonna make you dump my plate, but I won't do that to you because that's just not who I am. Now, I think what happens again, and you guys, you know, Zach, you said it best. You said in a perfect situation, in a perfect world, you know, everyone does their part, dumps their food out, and they do a good job of it. Even if the kids dump their food out, they don't do it very well. They they do like the little tip of the plate and then come back with 50% of the food still on the plate, and then dump that in there. Now, we're just talking about plates here. We haven't even gotten to cups. We haven't even gotten to utensils. You know, so it's just like, what are you talking about? There's so many things that are cross-contaminating inside of that bin. It's just like, and then again, if you have perfect form and you're carrying that bin, and again, let's not forget that there is also the chance of you dropping that bin. And what happens when you drop that bin? Right? If you drop a sponge, no one looks at you twice. But if you
He's making a
drop
good point.
that bin, there's an inherent risk that comes along with the bin. I'll let you guys
If
know.
you drop that bin, it's all 3 jobs at dinner. So
Yeah.
So you got the sponge.
It's sarcastic. It's sarcastic shaming for sure. If you drop the bin, as in way to go, Xander, way to go. I also think the meal of the day matters. So like, which are we talking breakfast, because people don't really dump the bowls and that gets a little nasty. And I also think which meal is being served matters. So if it's a grilled cheese day, I think I'm going bins. But if it's like, burritos or something, with beans, something a little messier, big soup day, big chicken noodle soup. I don't know if I'm so comfortable carrying those bins. Xander, thoughts?
I don't know. Something like beans or burritos. I mean, that's more likely to get all over the place. So then now you're carrying the sponge, and you treat it nicely. I mean, you treat it like a gentleman. So you got no problem carrying this sponge, wiping this table down properly. But the person before you could have dumped it in like a whole thing of ketchup, or like has it covered in beans. Now they just blindly throw it back in that disgusting water, and now you're the next person stuck holding it. That's a real problem. I don't want to hold on to that nonsense.
And I will add, Raul, that in the upstairs dining room, very often the sponge gets brought by one person and then just kind of passed down the table. So if you're the third person to get that sponge before it goes back in the bucket of said gross, dirty water, it might have ketchup on it. It might have, chocolate pudding on it. It might have something gross on it. Thoughts?
Okay, one, those 2 things that you guys pointed out are delicious. Ketchup, chocolate pudding. Not scared of those 2 things. First of all, I forgot that there was only 1 sponge in the bucket. Fake news there, Xander. There's like 4 sponges in there. So of course I'm not going to pick the filthy sponge with ketchup and pudding all over it. That's clear as day. Now, also, Zach, I'm not going to have a hand-me-down sponge. I'm going to get myself up and walk 10 paces to grab a fresh sponge. Why put myself in that situation? Why would I accept that? That's nonsensical. These arguments are of people who clearly don't like to get up very much. Guilty, I might add, probably as campers of both of these offenses of expecting somebody else to dump your tray or plate, and or refusing to do any job at all and volunteering to do the pitcher job. I would like to hear you guys say that you were never guilty of doing those things when you guys were in camp.
I was an angel and I never would have done such a thing. I plead the fifth. That's a Chicago reference for the kids out there. Fifth. Xander, last question for you. Fifth. Last question for you, and then we'll move on to our next topic. If what you're saying is that every person is going to dump their tray individually and then put it into the bin, by that same logic, that when you bring the sponge, everybody's going to sponge their own area, pass it around the table, and you're only bringing it there and bringing it back. Thoughts?
I disagree with that as a concept, honestly. And I appreciate it. I guess if everyone wants to do that, if that's more, you get lucky at a table if everyone does that. Bins, you really are responsible for your plate. It's not everyone's job to pick up. It's not one person's job to pick up everyone's plate. But if you get stuck with a sponge, it is your job to sponge the table. That's why I think the job is worse. But I guess if we were living in some sort of world where it really was on everyone to just sponge their own spot, then maybe I would be more open to hearing the argument that sponges is not as bad as bins. But I just don't think that's the world we're living in right now.
Raul, final word?
Again, I'm a clean person. I kind of like to I take ownership in cleaning. I will gladly do all the jobs to a fault even. I've definitely enabled some kids because when the bickering starts, when the arguments start of I don't want to do this job, I don't want to do that job, I just get up and I do it. So at the end of the day, suck it up, guys. Any job is not bad, but sponge is way easier than bins. The weight of a sponge will not get that much heavier. But the weight of a bin, Huh?
Hold on. Raul gets the last word.
All right.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to talk about the water weight, come on. Let's be real here. But that bin is going to gain at least 5 pounds. And if Zach's putting his plate in there, not having taken any food off, that's another 5 pounds. So that thing is going to get ridiculously heavy. So, again, and I've seen some, I don't know if little young Aaron or, even a young Willie Brody for that matter, I don't know if they could curl up a 20, 30 pound bin. I think those guys will take the sponge all day.
Certainly not on Willie Brody's grilled cheese only diet that he ate while he was in senior dining. But all right, guys, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to keep it in the dining room here. Pretty controversial one, I think. I mean, I have a pretty strong opinion here. I believe there's a right answer and a wrong answer, but maybe there isn't. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of people very excited for both of those things when they get served for lunch. We've got tacos versus wings. Xander, we'll give you the first word on this one. Favorite lunch at camp, tacos versus wings. What are you going with here, buddy?
Is a really great question. And if it weren't Brant Lake specific, I might have a different answer. But I gotta say, for me, I went to school in upstate New York. We're known for our wings. I think it's wings. I gotta say, Brant Lake wings, they do it real good up here, especially recently. I mean, they've done such a nice job. They've added so many different flavors. I mean, you got I don't know how many, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different flavors. You can take 2 of each. You come back with 16 wings with 8 different flavors. I mean, come on. I don't know if you can beat that, Raul. Hey, what do you got, man?
It's like the Baskin-Robbins of chicken wings. Raul, tacos or wings?
I gotta say, I think I might be on Xander's side on this one, but for a different reason altogether. I'm my culture, obviously, I'm Mexican, and we're known for tacos. And LA, incredible. Like, you can go down to a tire shop, and there's going to be a taco salesman there, and there's going to be some amazing tacos. So, for that matter, the Brant Lake tacos are delicious, and I do enjoy Taco Day. But those aren't tacos. Those are very, very much, Americanized. So I do enjoy them, don't get me wrong. I think they are delicious. Another thing that goes against them is the line. The kids don't know how to prepare the taco. They all think they got to separate the shell, put the beef while they're getting their food. No. Put the shell on your plate, grab a spoonful of meat, dump it on your plate, grab the ingredients and dump them on your plate, get to your table and prepare yourself a nice little taco meal. I think if that line was a little bit quicker and the kids listened to my advice, which they really should, Taco Day might have won. But I do love the wings. I love the wings. Similar situation with the lines. But that's a day where I'm not shy and I'm going to cut the line because I want to get my wings in. And I know that these kids are going to pile up their plates and just make it impossible. But I got to go wings.
So I'm a wings guy too, I got to say. But I will say it's a close one for me. I'm in particular, Raul, and tell me if you feel the same way. I am much more of a soft shell taco guy than a hard shell taco guy. So my question for you is, would your opinion be changed if the option to make soft shell tacos was available over the course of the summer as opposed to just the hard shells?
I think that would play a very, very heavy part in swaying me. Because the soft shell, that's just the beauty of it. You got so many cracking shells. It's just not, when you bite into it, the taco basically breaks in half. Sometimes you have more control of that soft shell. Give me a corn one, no question. We got corn tortillas flying. It's Taco Day all day. I could make those authentic. It'd be tacos al pastor in the upstairs dining room. I think anybody that want to go wings is going to change to tacos because it's going to be bananas up there. Maybe I got to talk to the kitchen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Go ahead.
But I understand that I'm going to sound like the novice here. But the debate might shift entirely right now. I'm a hard shell man. I always have been. I always will be. It's just like having like full-on chips. It's like eating chips with the tacos. It's great. Crunch them up, make a nice taco salad. I have always been a hard shell guy. I know that's not. I mean, those are the gringo tacos or whatever. But that's the taco I enjoy. Raul, crucify me if you'd like, but that's the taco I want to eat.
I just don't think you've been experienced enough for me to say anything. It's all based on experience. You need to come to LA. You need to come to that tire shop in the hood where you might be a little bit nervous driving in. But let me tell you something. All that fear is worth it because what's waiting for you on the end is just bliss. You're going to fall in love. I just don't think you've, through your Taco Bell experiences, you haven't experienced a delicious taco. So I'm not going to fault you for that. It's lack of experience.
As someone who has driven through the hood to the tire shop with Raul and been scared, he is right. The bliss at the end of the rainbow was well worth the terror in the car on the way to the taco stand. Those tacos are delicious. But again, I think we're unanimous here. I think we're all going with wings. Xander, last word, and then we've got to move on.
Well, I mean, we did lose topic here, and I'm going to stay way off. But don't you dare ever disrespect Taco Bell again. I mean, there are lines, sir. There are lines that we do not cross. And if you ever come after the gosh darn bell again, we are going to have a serious problem. All right? I might come to LA, but for different reasons if you disrespect my baby like that again.
So for those keeping score at home, Xander is anti-lamestream media and pro Taco Bell. All right, moving on to topic number 3. I think this is going to be our final topic of this show. Moving on to maybe a bit more serious one, a bit more sentimental one to everybody. We've got 2 green and gray events that are very, very special and maybe unique to Brant Lake. And we want to know, between these 2, which one you like better. And you can take this any way you want. We're going rope burn versus 1-inning softball. And I know we've got 2 baseball guys on the show, so there might be some inherent bias here. But I think both of the events are just so special and so crowd-pleasing, momentum-swinging, just memorable nights or afternoons or mornings or whenever they happen over the course of the summer and during green and gray. So, Raul, we'll start with you. Rope burn or 1-inning softball? Which one stands out to you more?
I'm gonna answer this from a judge's point of view. All right, from a judge's point of view, it's rope burn because I really get to enjoy it. I'm sitting back. There's no pressure on me. Hearing the cheering going on side to side. I really get to kind of celebrate the moment with everyone. The 1-inning softball game, as a judge, I've been put on pretty much every base except for second. I think, Zach, that's your base forever. The pressure that comes with that, it's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoy it. I definitely want to be there. But there is pressures, and sometimes I'm too focused on calls to really enjoy that moment, to really enjoy what's happening, because I'm focused on what I need to be focused on, and that's to ensure that I'm making the right call. So, just from a spectator enjoyment factor, for me, it's a rope burn as a judge.
So I'll jump in with a funny story about umpiring second base and 1-inning softball, and then Xander, I'll let you jump in. But my first year as a purple after 18 years being gray, it was 2014. I don't remember if it was a night break or a morning break, honestly. But obviously 1-inning softball was the first event. And Richie determined that I should be the umpire of one of the bases. So I'm nervous as it is. I don't want to mess up. It's my first game officiating in green and gray. I'm also, conscious of the fact that people might think that maybe my alliances or my allegiances are still in one way versus the other, and people are skeptical about me being a judge after all these years. Okay. So let's set the scene. We go to the judges' meeting at the scorer's table, handing out the purple T-shirts to everybody. And I get my first judge's shirt, which is a ladies cut V-neck medium. So I'm already off to a great start rocking a shirt that is too small and is not cut for my body. Now we decide I'm going to umpire second base because we're assuming that, none of the big close calls are going to happen at second base. And we could not have been more wrong. There were about 7 bang plays at second base, and I'm pretty sure out of sheer panic and fear, I gave every single one of them to Green. That was among the most stressful Judge Green and Gray experiences I've ever had in my entire life. So I understand what you're saying about being stressed during winning softball. Sorry, Xander, go ahead. On to you.
Yeah, no, also, Raul, I really appreciate the answer. That was very thoughtful. I have not been a judge like the two of you. I'm still a color. Woo! So I got to go with one inning softball because that's certainly the one I'm most involved with. And I want to say 2 kind of quick stories about one inning softball. Obviously now I've had a lot to do with kind of the strategizing before the game, which is always really, really exciting for me. Kind of something you plan out right after the break. Usually find a baseball guy and someone who knows the different age groups. So you spend like a decent bit of time trying to make the horseshoe, trying to figure out who would be best to bunt, who should swing away, who are some of the faster guys that you want to hit early in the order, who can play the outfield, who to put on the bases. So the strategy in that, and probably like period 6 or the wacky period, that's some of the most exciting parts of being a green and gray counselor, maybe even more than participating in the sports. So one inning softball certainly for me is a really exciting part as a counselor. But 2 things that happened as a camper that really kind of speaks to how much I care about one inning softball and how much maybe rope burn's not my thing. One inning softball, it was my senior A year. This is a very cool moment for me. I was playing third base, which was good because my last name's not Goldman. So I was playing third, and Josh Goldstern comes up, Goldie, who's like a freak show athlete. He went to play soccer at Virginia. He was a year younger than we were, but he was so athletic that they had him in our group. Also a really great guy. He reached out to me a couple weeks ago. Really exciting. Miss you, buddy. Good to hear from you. He comes up for Green, and he just hits a rope, like right center field with a softball, which is ridiculous in and of itself. I think it one-hops the wall. It's rolling around out there. Kids are taking a really long time to pick it up. Goldie, obviously being as fast as he is, rounds first, rounds second, comes to third. The throw comes in too late. Goldie's in easily. And I just take a step back and I watch him. Because I know him. He's a little bit younger, maybe a little bit more immature, really excited, just had a huge hit in his first moment in green and gray in senior camp. And the green dugout is obviously where the grandstand is. So I'm just watching him just to see what he does. And sure enough, he takes 1, maybe 2 steps off the bag to hype up his boys, pump up the crowd. Yeah, this is me. What a shot I just hit. And I'm watching, and I got the ball right in my glove, and I go up right behind him, and I tap him on the back, and I point at Mike Hall, who's the third base umpire. I'm like, you see that? He's like, oh, yeah, I saw that. You're out of there. That was a huge moment for me, one of my favorite green and gray moments. And then also about rope burn, I was a senior C. I only played one varsity sport. I played varsity baseball. So that obviously left me open to participate in the rope burn. And some younger kid comes up to me. He's like, Xander, are you going to do the rope burn? I'm like, what's up? He's like, are you going to do the rope burn? I'm like, you mean the one with the fire? They're like, yeah. They're like, you want me to go in the fire? It's like, yeah, you're captain, dude. He's like, no. I'm not getting anywhere near that fire. So for me, rope burn's not really my thing. One inning softball all the way.
So one inning softball has always been my favorite event in green and gray, but I will say there's something impressive about the rope burn as an event, and also admirable about the people who are willing to do it. We always at the end of the rope burn come down, and there's skits afterwards in senior camp, and we always make sure we give a big standing ovation to everybody that participated in the rope burn, the winning team, the losing team, because you just got to be such a psychopath in like the most courageous way possible to be willing to do that. And I've always admired it and sort of watched it from afar. And I'm not a big outdoorsman, like I'm not a big fire builder, so I think my lack of knowledge about the event almost makes it more mesmerizing and impressive to me. But I've got to lean back and fall back on one inning softball. Raul, what about you, man? What is it about the rope burn that really does it for you?
I think it's, you get the cheering no matter what in any green and gray event. But the cheering on the when you're doing the rope burn, it's just continuous. It's never ending. When you got the one in the softball game, you got one side cheering when something good happens, and the other side kind of quiets down out of sheer nervousness. Right? During the rope burn, it's a continuous chant from both sides, and it doesn't stop until that rope snaps. And even then, the most beautiful thing about the rope burn is the winning team is going to cheer their hearts out and then run down because it's pretty much bedtime for everyone. But the losing team stays up there, and they continue to cheer until their rope snaps. So it's just like kind of all-encompassing in like what green and gray means. It's like, yeah, they might have won, but we're still a team, and we're still going to be here, and we're still going to cheer, and we're still going to push forward. So that's really it. It's really just how that moment comes together and how it ends and everything about that moment. It's just really cool.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, corny as it sounds, there's certainly something symbolic about, you have the whole team cheering and the fire kind of erupts, and kind of every fire sort of is, it's almost like a metaphor for the whole team. I get all that. And I think you're right. As a judge, I think the rope burn probably does it for me a bit more than one inning softball, but perhaps that's because when I was still on a team, one inning softball was my favorite event to be a part of, certainly as a counselor. And I think maybe watching it as a judge, I miss it so much that it almost like, I don't know if it takes it away from me or it takes a bit away from it for me, but I don't know. I miss being a part of it, and it's hard to be objective during one inning softball. You're sort of like analyzing because it's so strategic, right? It's the most chess of any sport, of any event in green and gray, as far as manipulating the pieces and strategic and what are we doing in this situation with the kid and this many people left in this position in this inning and this many runners and the whole thing. So I don't know. I loved it, but I think now as an objective purple, I think the rope burn might take it for me. Xander, last word here, and then we'll wrap up.
No, I mean, I think you both have said it all. Rope burn is obviously something that I've just been able to spectate from afar, and I always have had the utmost respect for everyone who does it. It's just, it hasn't been for me. And one inning softball, I just think it's also the anticipation. I mean, it's the first event in green and gray. I remember when I was voted captain, you get to participate in the coin toss. And I remember walking out there in front of everyone with Jake Bernstein and going to shake hands with Dylan Greenberg and Jackson Reed and Goldie, and Richie's there tossing the coin. It's just like, this is really it. I mean, it's really my senior C year. We're really going out there for one inning softball. And also I remember getting to play in it again at the 100th year anniversary, getting to do that right to start green and gray in July. Just so many great memories with one inning softball for me. That's where I got a lot.
All right. And there we have it. 3 good topics this week. Xander, Raul, thank you guys for chiming in. And for all of the listeners out there, please, 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 we want to hear your take. Sponge v. Bins, tacos v. wings, rope burn v. one inning softball. Let's hear where you guys stand. inbetweentimeBLC@gmail.com. Please hit us up and give us your input. I think it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the Xander Furman Top 10 of the Week. Xander, what do you have for us this time?
Thank you very much, Zach. All right, folks. We had a debate topic this week, but I think the most important one, or my favorite topic discussing, was the one inning softball versus rope burn debate. So I figured this week we would have a top 10 things overheard at the one inning softball game or at the rope burn. Rick, please, one time for the one times, give me some top 10 music. No, still not in the budget. All right, let's start off with number 10. Number 10, is he not wearing a glove? Number 9, it's a box inside a box. Number 8, whatever you do, don't put a Goldman at third base. Number 7, I don't think they're using enough pine needles. Number 6, let's just have him bunt. Number 5, that's probably too many pine needles. Number 4, he's hitting twice. Number 3, don't smother it. Number 2, you can play double backup first base. And the number one thing most likely to be overheard at the one inning softball game or at the rope burn is, when I'm a senior C, I'm just going to set myself on fire.
And there you have it. Incredible as always, the Xander Furman Top 10 of the Week. Wow, guys, this was so much fun. It was fun just being back, at least me and Xander in the same room, Raul on the screen in the room with us, but just great to be doing the podcast again. It's been too long, and we got to get back on it every week. I think this episode was pretty cool, too, just debating, going back and forth. Some kind of non-essential, kind of funny topics, and then a serious one at the end. It was great hearing your guys' opinion. And again, just a reminder to everyone, we want your opinions, too. So make sure you email us inbetweentimeBLC@gmail.com. Raul, any words of wisdom, buddy, before we have to go?
Yeah, guys. Remember, being finished is binary, not relative. There are no degrees to being done. You're either done or you're not done. Almost done, basically done, pretty much done, and just about done are all synonyms for not done. Make sure you clean that wing off. Finish that wing, or it doesn't add to the count of how many wings you've eaten. Get the job done.
And it looks like we, as well, are done. For the three of us here at the In Between Time podcast, prime time is over. You missed your chance to shower, and you can't get water from the health center. Get in your bunks, and we'll see you next time on the In Between Time podcast.
I've been seeing